Perhaps the most difficult work of the heart is forgiving. There's a saying that we all think forgiving is a great idea until we really have something to forgive. Forgiving is difficult because our blame serves as a buffer that keeps us from directly experiencing our hurt or fear. The process of forgiving, of releasing this armor, takes mindfulness and courage. Our motivation is that the armoring of hatred and blame primarily injures our own heart. Zen teacher Joko Beck says, our capacity to know joy is directly related to our capacity to forgive. There are many misunderstandings about forgiveness. Forgiveness means not pushing anyone, including ourselves, out of our heart. But there are many misunderstandings about this. Forgiveness doesn't mean being passive or non-responsive to injury. We can let go of hatred and yet commit ourselves to doing whatever necessary to prevent further harm. If we've been violated, we can create whatever physical or situational boundaries necessary to protect ourselves. We might leave a marriage. We might aim at having someone put in jail or exposed and censured for unethical behavior. But still, our intention is to regard the other with compassion. There's a wonderful line. Vengeance is a lazy form of grief. If we hold on to our blame, we bypass the feelings that most need attention for healing. We avoid the hurt and loss that need processing. Vengeance is a lazy form of grief, and it prevents us from moving forward in our life as a whole, awakening being. It prevents us from seeing the truth about whoever we're not forgiving. Longfellow writes, if we could read the secret history of our enemies, we should find in each man's life sorrow and suffering, enough to disarm all hostility. Anyone who is causing injury is suffering, is not living from their own wholeness of heart and being. We forgive for the freedom of our hearts, to see truth and live with an open heart. This next meditation, the heart of forgiveness, is a way of bringing mindfulness to the places that we felt hurt or injured or afraid, and with that mindfulness, freeing up the armoring that surrounds our heart. It's important to know that while softening and opening our hearts cannot be willed, the following meditation nourishes a willingness that makes forgiveness possible. This is based on a traditional Buddhist forgiveness practice in which we first ask forgiveness from others, then offer forgiveness to ourselves, and finally to those who've caused us injury. Sitting comfortably, close your eyes and allow yourself to become present and still. Rest your attention on the breath for a few moments, relaxing as you breathe in and relaxing as you breathe out. Begin by bringing to mind a situation in which you have caused harm to another person through your words, your actions, through neglect. Take some moments to remember the circumstances and let yourself include in remembering the feelings of hurt or disappointment or betrayal that other person might have felt. Now, holding this person in your awareness, begin asking for forgiveness. You might mentally whisper his or her name and say, I understand the hurt you felt, and I ask your forgiveness now. Please forgive me. With a sincere heart, repeat several times your request for forgiveness. And then take some moments of silence and let yourself open to the possibility of being forgiven, of feeling forgiven. I understand the hurt you have felt, and I ask your forgiveness now. Please forgive me. Now bring to mind some aspect of yourself that feels unacceptable or unforgivable. Perhaps you can't forgive yourself for being a judgmental and controlling person, or for how you've hurt others. You might not be able to forgive how you're ruining your own life with an addictive behavior. You might feel disgust for mental obsession. Just sense what it is that feels unforgiving and what feels so bad about the particular behavior that you feel aversion towards. Now, with mindfulness, begin to investigate more deeply what is driving this seemingly unacceptable part of your being. If you've been addicted to food, nicotine, or alcohol, what need are you trying to satisfy? Or what fear are you trying to soothe? If you've been judging others, are you feeling fearful yourself? Insecure yourself? Deficient yourself? If you've wounded another person, did you act out of hurt and insecurity? Out of the need to feel power or safety? As you become aware of underlying wants and fears, allow yourself to feel them directly in your body, heart, and mind. Get to know what drives the parts of your being that feel unacceptable. Even as you dislike the behaviors, is it possible to hold the underlying fears, wants, unmet needs with compassion? You might explore this by placing your hand over your heart and just begin to offer a sincere message of self-compassion, of forgiveness to whatever feelings, thoughts, or behaviors you're rejecting. You might mentally whisper the words, "I see how I've caused myself suffering, and I forgive myself now." Or, "I see how I've caused others suffering, and I forgive myself now." Or you might simply offer yourself the words, "Forgiven, forgiven." See if you can meet whatever's arising right now, fear or judgment, shame or grief, with the message of forgiveness. Even resistance to forgiving can be met with "forgiven, forgiven." Allow the hurt, the pain to untangle in the openness of a forgiving heart. As you practice, you may feel that you're going through the motions and are not actually capable of forgiving yourself. You might believe you don't deserve to be forgiven. You might be afraid that if you forgive yourself, you'll just do the same thing again. Maybe you feel afraid that if you really open and forgive yourself, you'll come face to face with an intolerable truth about yourself. If these doubts and fears arise, acknowledge and accept them with compassion. Then say to yourself, "It is my intention to forgive myself when I am able. It is my intention to no longer push myself out of my own heart." Your intention to forgive is the seed of forgiveness. This willingness will gradually relax and open your heart. In the same way that each of us has hurt others, we each have been wounded in our relationships. In this third part of our practice, please bring to mind an experience in which you were deeply disappointed or rejected, abused or betrayed. Without judging yourself, notice if you're still carrying feelings of anger and blame towards the person who hurt you. Have you shut this person out of your heart? Feeling the intention, the willingness to explore awakening this heart of forgiveness. Recall now with some detail the specific situation that most fully reminds you of how you were wounded. You might remember an angry look on a parent's face, harsh words from a friend, the moment of discovering that a trusted person had deceived you, your partner storming out of the house. See the situation in your mind's eye and be aware of the feelings that arise, the grief or shame, the anger or fear. And with acceptance and gentleness, feel this pain as it expresses in your body, your heart. Just take some time right now to hold the places of hurt with a tender compassion. Again, placing the hand on the heart, see if you can offer a very kind and full presence to this woundedness. The path of forgiveness, this freedom of the heart, begins by bringing compassion to our own pain. If it helps, you might send a message to the place that feels most vulnerable inside you. I'm here with you. I care about this suffering. Perhaps I'm sorry and I love you. Offering your presence to your inner life. Now, as you feel able, begin to look more closely at this other person and see if you can sense the fear or hurt, the guilt or shame, the inner pain that might have caused him or her to behave in a hurtful way. See if you can experience this being as an imperfect human, vulnerable and real. Feeling this person's presence, mentally whisper his or her name and offer the message of forgiveness. I feel the pain that has been caused, and to the extent that I'm ready, I forgive you now. Or if you feel unable at this moment to offer forgiveness, I feel the pain that has been caused, and it is my intention to forgive you. Repeating the message of forgiveness, our intention, for as long as you like, and remain connected with your own feeling of vulnerability and tenderness. Now letting go of all ideas of yourself, of the other person, and simply rest in the experience of awareness. Aware of just what your experience is moment to moment. If there's any judgments of how you've moved through the forgiveness practice, to notice them with mindfulness and let go. Whatever arises, sense the capacity to include feelings and thoughts, this entire living, dying world, in a vast space of heart. The poet Rumi writes, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there." When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense.